So today we've got actually kind of a regular tape measure to look at, something that you would see if you pulled out a tape measure. So a couple things to note is that when you're measuring, you always want to identify the whole number. And so we've got, for example, you can see on here 35. Now if this were cut off and we couldn't see, we could always look at the number ahead of there and look and say, okay, well, if my arrow's here and I can't see the 35, I would know that I'm in the 35 range because there's 36, right? So anything that you would see on a worksheet type deal like that. Now, when we talk about identifying these, yesterday we mentioned that you can simply just count over. And if you count over, then you can identify each marking. And so for this next couple of activities that we're going to be doing, you're going to actually have a ruler that looks like this, and you're going to have to put a marking on there to identify each spot. So if we said where's 35 and 3/16, all you would have to do is count over. There's 1, 2, 3/16, right? So that would be 35 and 3/16. What about 35 and 3/8? Okay, well, 3/8 is the same thing as 6/16. So we can count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 16ths. If I move this right there, what are we at? Okay, a couple ways. That's a long way to count if you want to count all the way over. We know that 36 here is going to be 16, right? 16 over 16. So we could count backwards and say, well, 15, 14, 13. We're at 13/16. So rather than counting all the way from the beginning, you could count backwards. Remember that your whole numbers are 16 over 16. So this would be 34 and 16 over 16, which is 1, right? Bumps it up to the whole number. So 34 plus 1 would be 35. All right. You guys were feeling pretty confident about the tape measure yesterday. Today, we're just kind of reviewing it and discussing it. We'll look more at it again tomorrow a little bit, and then we'll keep working forward on that. Is there any major questions or concerns with the tape measure? Okay. Again, how typically it's broken into 16 sections. And you'll notice that there's different lengths of lines, right? So the 16th marks are all short. Okay, all of these are technically 16th marks, but the ones that are 8ths are a little bit longer. Okay, so every 2 would be an 1/8. Now this one is a 1/4, so it's a little bit longer yet. But if you drew a line across here, all of these that are the same height would all be the 8th marks. All these longer ones, okay, you have 2 of them. They would be the 1/4 marks, and then the 1/2 is the biggest one. So there are some little visual cues there to look at when you're counting over. Okay, if you want to count by 8ths, remember it's every 2 lines is an 1/8. What if you wanted to count by quarters? You needed to get to 3/4. Instead of counting over 12/16, you could count over every 4 lines. You'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or just look at the longer lines and find 3/4, okay? So a couple little tricks that hopefully the more you use it, the more comfortable you'll get with it and moving forward with that.